This is Sweet June 2010. How's everybody doing this evening? The other day, I was watching Tommy Sotomayor had a topic on his one of his live shows, and it was it was called "Can Men Opt Out of Fatherhood Like Women Can?" And I was they had a chat room, and I kind of was in the chat room for a while, but I told them that they can. Well, my video is going to be a response to that question. That's a good question, actually. And he had a discussion with it. It was just talking to different people that was calling in, and I of course, didn't watch the whole thing because I can't sit for hours and just watch one video. But he was basically having a discussion with different guys that was calling in and everything like that. So my video is going to be, I'm going to be answering that question that he asked. Good question. Can men opt out of being a father? Now he said that towards the end of that, he said, can men opt out of being a father like women can opt out of being a mother? Now, I was making a point in the chat room that I don't understand what he's talking about. Women can't opt out of being a mother, unless an abortion does not count. Abortion is murder. Abortion is murder, plain and simple. It's murder. A woman can have an abortion, but she's committing murder. Now, I don't really care what anybody says about that, but if you read your Bible, the Bible is very clear about abortion, and it's murder, plain and simple. So that's not opting out of motherhood, that's committing murder. And then they was making the point that a woman can give the baby up for adoption. Well, black children do not get adopted out. Statistically, black children don't have the same adoption rate as white children, and they typically get left in the foster care system. I'm not sure about the stats on that, but the percentage is pretty high on the average. Black children do not get adopted out as the same rate as white children, and most likely 9 times out of 10 they wind up in the foster care system. So a woman can do that, but her child, the white child has a better chance of being adopted out, but the black child has virtually no chance of being, a very small percent chance of being adopted out. So, in my book, a woman has limited options as far as opting out of motherhood. But to answer his question, because that is a good question, in answering to his question, yes, men can opt out of being fathers. A man does not have to be a father if he doesn't want to be. And when I say that, I speak from personal experience. My youngest son's dad opted out of being a father. He opted out of being a father. He literally opted out of being a father. When I got pregnant, I'm not going to go into all the details, but when I got pregnant, he decided that he did not want to be a father. And he didn't, and he was able to opt out of paying child support as well, for the exception of a few times that he got arrested and I got his bail money. Other than that, he was able to opt out of paying child support. Apparently, you can tell the child support people that you're disabled, and then once you tell them that and have documentation, whether it's legitimate documentation or not, you can show documentation. And then they'll basically close the child support case, because that's pretty much what they did in my case. So he not only opted out of being a father, he opted out of paying child support as well. So yes, a man can opt out of being a father. He has never seen my son. He's only seen my son one time. Just in case you guys want to come on here and get on the tangent and say I kept him from him, no, I didn't. The door was always open for him to come in and see his son. I talked to him on the phone a few times. Talked to him in court one time, and he said he was going to come see him. The door was always open for him to come see his son, and he never walked through it. And always, at one point I was actually looking for him after he said that he was going to come see my son. I was actually kind of looking for him and seeing if he was going to make good on that promise. So he just decided he just didn't want to be a father. And at the end of the day, you can't make a man do something that he doesn't want to do. If he doesn't want to be a father, then he's not going to be a father. And the law will not force a man to be a father. They will attempt to force them to pay child support, but they can't force them to be a father. I mean, well, he was able to opt out of paying child support as well. He paid me a little bit of money, but nowhere near what I was supposed to get. But they winded up closing my child support case because he was able to opt out of that too by claiming that he's disabled. So apparently a man can opt out of that too if they know how to work the system. He apparently knows how to work the system. So he not only opted out of being a father, he opted out of paying child support as well. Okay, so the law does not make a man be a father if they don't want to be. The law is not going to come after the father and say, look, you're going to be a father to this child or else. You're going to visit this child. You're going to spend time with this child or else. Or you got to spend so many hours a week with this child. The law doesn't do that. The law does not make a man be a father to his child. And the woman cannot force the man to be a father. I could not force my son's father to be his father. Because at the end of the day, you can't make somebody do something that they don't want to do. If they don't want to be a father, they're not going to be a father. And he made the decision that he did not want to be a father. And he didn't. So, yes, he did opt out of being a father. So, the law does not make a man be a father. I don't care what anybody says. The law does not make a man be a father. They got too many cases, child support cases. They got too many cases going on. Family courts and everything have too many cases. They don't have time to be running after individual men trying to see if they're visiting their kids. Or a lot of men have to fight if the woman is keeping the father from the child. A lot of women have to fight. I mean, a lot of men have to fight and go to court and everything and fight the woman to try to get visitation of the child. So if that being the case, if a man has to go that far to be in a child's life, then I mean, if a man couldn't opt out of being a father, then he shouldn't have to go to those lengths to, see his child. Some cases where women is keeping the child from the man, then the man has to go to court and all this kind of stuff, and he has to go through a lot of legal changes and red tape to get visitation of his child. Okay, but on the flip side, if a man doesn't want to be a father to the child, the court is not going to force him to be a father. And they will try to, and when I say try, I say try. I mean try. They will try to get child support out of the man. But that's as far as they will go. They can force the man to pay child support, but they can't force the man to be a father. So the man, yes, he can opt out of being a father. Paternity was never established for my son. He questioned the paternity of my son, but he never got the DNA test and everything. But he knew, just by looking at my son's picture, that there was an undeniable fact. So, but he never, called himself, try to request the DNA, but he never got the DNA. Over the years, he never got it. The judge told him he need to go ahead and get that done, but he never got it done. Okay, so paternity was never established for my son. Okay, so he, in my case, he was able to opt out of fatherhood. He see my son one time, and that was only because I brought him to court one time. And that was the only time he has ever laid eyes on his son. So he literally made the decision that he did not want to be a father, and he was able to opt out of it. So, yeah, in answer to Tommy Sotomayor's question, yes, a man can opt out of being a father. Because the law is not going to, and the law did not force him to do a paternity test. The law did not force him to have visitations with my son. The law attempted to force him to pay child support, but like I said, he knew how to work the system, and he was able to opt out of that as well. Okay, I got some money out of him, but I didn't get nowhere near what I was supposed to get. So he knew how to work the system, so apparently he was able to opt out of that as well. Apparently, if a man knows how to work the system, then yes, a man can be opt out of paying child support as well. But you got to know how to work the system. He knew how to work the system, so he was able to opt out of that as well. Okay, so basically, all he is to my son is basically a sperm donor. He's not a father. He's basically a sperm donor. So a man, yes, a man can opt out of being a father, and the law does not force a man to be a father. In answer to that question, they was having such a big debate about it. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was on the chat room for a little while, and I, made some comments and stuff like that. I might go back and watch some more of it. And he was just talking to different guys about it and different situations like that. And yeah, a man can definitely opt out of being a father. Give me your opinion in the comments section below. Give me your opinion on what you think that a man can opt out of being a father. But yeah, they can definitely opt out of being a father, because my son's father did. Okay, they don't, like my oldest son's dad. He was a father, but he wasn't a full-time dad. He was kind of like a part-time dad, and he kind of spent time with my oldest son on his terms. He was not ordered by the court to visit or spend time, a certain amount of time, with my son as well. I wanted him to spend more time with my oldest son. I tried to talk him into spending more time with my oldest son, but he kind of just spent time with him on his terms. Not on here to bash him or trash him, because we're still friends, but I'm just stating the facts. He basically was a father on his terms, and he spent time with him on his terms, not according to my terms. And even though I tried to get him to have a more active role in my oldest son's life, he kind of did it on his terms, And so I say he was a part-time dad. He wasn't really a full-time dad. He was a part-time dad. But the court didn't come in and say, well, you got to spend a certain amount of time with your son. You got to have, we could have went to court about visitation, but he wasn't interested in doing anything like that. So the law did not force him to spend a certain amount of time with my son or whatever. The law does not force a man to do that. They will attempt to force a man to pay child support. They will attempt to do that. But they cannot force a man to be a father to the child. And the man can opt out of being a father. If he does not want to be a father to that child, if he does not want anything to do with that child, he can walk away from the child and not have anything to do with the child, and the courts will basically not do anything about it. At least not here in Michigan. I don't know how it works in other states, but I know that's the case here in Michigan. My son's father, my youngest son's dad, was able to do that. My son will be 18 in a couple of years, and he's only seen him once in his whole life. And I couldn't make him. A woman can't make a man do something that he doesn't want to do. You know, if he didn't want to be a father, who was I to try to force him to be a father? I told him that the door was open for him to come through it, because I grew up without a dad, so I would never keep my fathers out of my kid's life. The door was open for him to walk through it. He just chose not to walk through it. But at the end of the day, I wasn't about to try to force him to do something that he didn't want to do. You can't force anybody to do something they don't want to do. If a man doesn't want to be a father, then you can't force it. The woman can't force it. The law can't force it. So yes, in answer to Tommy Sotomayor's question, in answer to your question, Tommy Sotomayor, a man can opt out of being a father. Okay, let me know in the comments section what you think. Men, I don't want to hear no negative comments. I don't want to hear no insults. I don't want to hear any judgments. But just let me know what you think about that. Be respectful, or I will block you, because there's no need for disrespect. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my videos. God bless you. Peace and love. This is Sweet June 2010.